What's up, everybody? ShonnyDman here, and welcome back to the channel. And if you're listening on podcast, welcome back to another episode of Nerd Talk with ShonnyDman. We are back again with Pyschotic.circus. For this, so this should be episode 13, I believe, if you're watching or if you're listening on podcast. I did just a podcast only episode the other week. So I'm excited to talk about the topic for this episode because she has been trying to get me to watch Arcane for so long on Netflix, and I finally watched it, and it was actually really good. It's based off a game, right?
League of Legends, yeah.
Okay, I think I knew of League of Legends, but I've really never paid any attention to it. And then the show came out last year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so it's been out for a year. Never watched it. I watched it I watched it the other day at work, and then I was just hooked. And I was just like, okay, I gotta finish all this. It's actually really good. So before I talk about my experience with watching the show, tell us about your experience watching the show.
So my experience with the show was I was going to watch it with two of my friends, but they kept pushing it aside. And I was like, look, nothing new ever comes out on Netflix. So we got to watch this now because I'm interested. And so my two friends kept pushing it aside. And so one night I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to watch it. You guys can do whatever you want. So then I turned it on at 10 p.m. On December 16th, I think, something like that. And I watched the first episode, and within the first 10 seconds, I was hooked. And I was like, okay, guess I'm watching the entire thing right now. So then I stayed up until 6 a.m. watching the entire show. Actually, not the entire show. I had 2 episodes left. And I was like, look, if I watched the almost season finale, I'm going to be up until 8 a.m. and I have Christmas the next day with my family. So I waited so I fell asleep at around 6 a.m. and then went to Christmas with my family. And then I came back and then I watched the next 2 episodes. I cried, I laughed, I finally knew what it was like to be alive again because I felt emotions. And then I watched the entire series again.
Oh, okay.
So I watched Arcane, the first season, 2 times in the first 24 hours I saw it.
Oh, wow. And so it took me a while because I would see everybody, or I see a lot more people do a cosplay of Jinx, and so I never knew. I would see it, but I never knew what that was about until I watched the show, and I was like, okay, now I see where some of these cosplays have come from. So I went so I watched the first episode, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And then I watched the second episode. I said, okay. About the third episode, I was like, all right, I'm invested in this. This is actually really good. I very much enjoyed it. I hate that it was like 9 or 10 episodes, but I won't complain as much because it was I just enjoyed it. The characters were good. The story was good. Um, the the visuals were great.
Oh my gosh.
I even told you after just like times watching it, I was just like, I don't know if I love these characters or do I hate them or I don't know what's happening here because they would do some things. I was like, good for you, and then turn around and do something else. It's like, what are you doing, man? What's going on here? Why are
No,
you
the
doing
correct
this?
answer is love all the characters. That's the correct answer.
Okay, you're right. That is the correct answer. I think, and I messaged you this too because Jinx's character, just watching her at the latter part when she's a teenager or a young adult, it gave just watching it automatically gave me Joker vibes. Just how she acted. But you mentioned that she's probably more of a Harley Quinn character. Um,
I think she's more of a Harley Quinn character because she's trying to impress Silco.
Right.
And that's what Harley's trying to do. She's trying to impress and make Joker happy. And that's kind of what Jinx is trying to do. She's trying to make Silco see her value.
Right. I it's just the voice acting was great too. I enjoyed the voice actors who did the characters, but man, what really hurt me watching this show was just in the beginning when it's a younger Powder and a younger V. Uh, oh man, it just killed me, man. It just because like the episode where they kind of get separated and Silco kind of takes in Powder. Just that whole scene, just watching her cry, and it's just I was like, oh man, this is killing me
Heartbreaking,
here.
heart shattering.
It is very much so. I was just kind of like, mm, that's just this is crazy. Silco as a villain was good. You understood his, I mean, yeah, you understood his motivation on what he wanted to do.
Oh, definitely.
Um,
I think you see the parallels with Silco and Jinx because Silco felt like Vander like abandoned him,
right,
and uh Jinx feels that Vi abandoned her. And they both just kind of want to create something.
right.
They want to
Um,
be something.
I will say I was expecting, I don't know, maybe more magic in the show. I guess that's just my first impression and thoughts on it is that I was expecting it to be a little bit more like magic-y. I know that's not a word, but because
I understand.
they talk a good bit about the magic lore in this show. And I don't know. I was like expecting. There were like moments like so in the first, I think it was maybe episode 3 or maybe 4, where kind of like the big fight happens when they're all younger at the warehouse, and there was like a moment where Powder uses her devices to cause like an explosion. I like for watching it initially, I was like, okay, I wonder if she's gonna get like magic powers from this or something like that. But that wasn't the case. But I mean, that's just me. That's just one thing for me. I just thought it would be more magic-y based,
Mhm.
but that's
I
okay.
was aware of the characters in League of Legends.
Hmm.
I knew who was a playable character. I knew what their powers were or like what their abilities were.
Right.
So I was waiting to see when they would get their abilities, when they would get their weapons. And so
Uh.
I kind of knew what to expect a
Hmm.
little bit at like the beginning at least. I was very shocked when I saw them as kids. I was not expecting to see 3 episodes of just like the build up.
Hmm.
And I think that's really cool. You get to see their childhood and you get to see what kind of causes them to tick and grow up.
Right. It was just very sad to in that same episode to watch their friends die in the manner that they did. That was like really depressing to watch.
Yeah, that kind of hit me hard.
Um.
The whole show hit me hard. Although to see that Powder was basically the cause.
Oh yeah,
Like
definitely.
you
It's just
Yeah, you see Jinx try to make up for what she did, or basically try to avoid what she did
yeah,
because of everything that she did. It's heartbreaking.
yeah. I mean, it's just because like, would they all have survived if Powder didn't get involved? It's
Personally, I think
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it looks
yeah.
like they were getting ready to like make their escape. Vi was doing her business, holding Soko and his groupies up. But then it's just Powder wanting to try to prove herself, and it just sets off a chain reaction of just unfortunate events that got them to where they are as adults. It's
To
just
see how they like what changed
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, it was insane.
yeah. I mean, and the entire time Powder, for the most part, assumed that Vi abandoned her, when in reality Marcus kind of, you know, kidnapped her and locked her away.
Yeah.
Um, but man, like the first when they first introduced Jinx, it's just oh man, it's just crazy. Like
The
she is such a wild card.
the way that they introduce her is fear, because like they go underneath the airship and then they just like see a swing.
Oh
They
yeah,
see a happy swing in a very dark, decrepit area, and then just like the word boom. It's like, oh, they know
yeah,
immediately what they're about to face. And it also sets up like the high standards for what we're gonna see with Jinx throughout the show.
oh yeah. She would blow everything up if she could. And
Yeah. Like what we saw was like hype. It was not only hype, but it was like what we want to see, expecting to see also.
yeah, and it was just because like she gained a reputation for who she is, and it's just I just loved her character. I really did. I felt bad for her, but I also thought this woman's insane. But I'm okay with that, and so it was just like she just had a for the most pretty much a rough life. You know, she assumed she'd been told her sister had abandoned her.
She was told her sister was abandoned her, then died.
Yeah, and it's
Because
just
in the one scene where Vi and Jinx meet up for the first time,
mm,
she asks her sister Marcus, and she was told from Silco that Marcus killed her.
yeah,
Like you need to connect those dots, but like Jinx came to terms that Marcus, who works for Silco, killed her.
yeah,
And she like came to terms with that. She's like, my sister is dead. My adoptive dad ordered for my sister to die, and now she's back. Like I feel like we like the time skip, we
mm,
missed a lot, but we can also make lots of connections as to
mm,
what happened.
oh yeah. And then some of the other characters, I'm trying to remember all their names just because there were so many. Um, and this show also like teaches you about not to say teaches, but it kind of like just shows you about just like how dangerous things are if you don't fully understand it, because they are working on um, the stones that kind of creates magic. They're develop different technologies for that, and they are, and it's they're doing things with that technology to better people's lives. But then at a certain point, it kind of starts going sideways, and it's just the idea of helping people with this technology sort of starts to disappear. And then you have certain characters wanting them to make weapons with it, and it's just like you can have like the intention of using this technology for good. Eventually people will come along and try to turn that into a weapon of war and mass destruction.
Definitely, definitely. Although they only wanted to start, like at first, all their intentions were clear. They just wanted to help basically the Undercity.
Yeah.
Although once they realized that Jinx, or the Undercity, she like stands for the Undercity, is capable of mass destruction, they were like, oh, so war is an option.
Yeah.
And then that's when they start realizing that they need to not only make preparations just in case a war does occur, but they need to not focus on the golden age that they're in. And
Hmm.
they need to have a backup plan just in case.
Right.
Because Jinx started off like in I believe it was the first episode in the second act, the fourth episode. When she goes in, she steals some of the blue orbs, the Hextech orbs,
Hmm.
and then they realize like, oh, they're stealing from us, and they have like they finally have our power.
Hmm.
They were almost like angry that they were trying to equalize themselves.
Right. Because it was like because they even say like the right kind of person can weaponize this technology, and for the most part, it fell into the right kind of person, which is Jinx, who was able to weaponize it. Because there's just this thought, because just watching it, there's this thought that they were better than those in the Undercity. And so it never really occurred to them that there could be somebody in the Undercity who could potentially weaponize it. Just because it just feels like watching it, they just didn't really care about the Undercity. They care more about,
Oh, and they didn't.
their power, their money, things that benefit them. Whereas, you have some characters that wants to use this technology to benefit everybody, and you see it because it's this whole political, you know, charade that just goes on. What is his name? Who creates it?
Jace.
Was it
Jace.
Okay, so Jace initially, because he wants to use this technology to help people, because this same magic technology saved him and his mother, correct?
Yeah.
And so that's his goal. That's what he wants to do. But then as it starts to progress, the technology develops, and now they're able to do all this trading and shipping just instantly. And obviously it affects. And when he wants to like try to stop that and make sure everything is good with this technology, there are people in the political area that kind of don't want that, but because again, it interferes with their power, it interferes with their money, and it's just like, again, they care about themselves. Well, for the most part, they care about themselves and not everybody else. They want to do what's best for them and not everybody else.
So Jace is one of my least favorite characters. I have very strong opinions on him, but he's spoiled. Anyway, we'll
Okay.
move on from that for a second. But when he joins the council, he's one of the only people that still thinks of the Undercity.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Victor. Victor is his partner, and Victor's from the Undercity, and he sees what the Undercity did to people. Although when he joins the council, they need, like, he's kind of the reminder that they
Mm-hmm.
are still citizens of Piltover in the Undercity. Although I feel like when he joins, he's still thinking of the Undercity. So, he's still trying to help citizens' lives. Although there are other people trying to weigh in on him, saying, we're not in a golden age. We need to think about how we can be better than other cities, other
Mm-hmm.
civilizations. And that's something Jace didn't sign up for. And we see the conflict between Jace and Victor, where Victor's still, his Undercity roots are still
Yeah.
saying we need to help people. And Jace is getting manipulated by Mel, by the other council members, by Kate's parents. And he's getting manipulated, and he's just happy to finally be in power, which
Mm-hmm.
he didn't know he wanted.
Yeah. It's just I really liked Victor's character. I felt so bad for him, just because you get the little
Poor
backstory
guy.
on him, and it's just like, oh man, I just hated for this guy, and it's just and like you said, he's still thinking about the Undercity because he's from the Undercity, and
Yeah.
so Jace doesn't understand what it's like living there or growing up there, and Victor knows what they need. They need better things that will help their lives a little bit better. I just hate it for him because then because Victor gets like this love interest that he doesn't know is a love interest, and it's just
That's
it,
a very one-sided love
yeah.
interest.
It's one of those situations. It's kind of like like you have a crush on somebody, but they're so caught up in their work they don't notice that they have a crush on you. But then at this point, it was too late for him to notice,
No, yeah.
and so. But it's just, man, it's just these characters. I don't know if I was like a character I least liked. I mean, I could probably say Jace kind of. I mean, I guess I don't like Jace as much just because he was a sellout basically.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely. So my issue with Jace is that he's definitely a sellout. He's very bratty. He's very spoiled. He
yeah,
got everything handed to him because of just the people he met, and then I mean, I guess the life-saving opportunity, but skipping over that, he just, he expected everything to be handed to him.
hmm,
And then when things didn't go his way, he like basically would just break the law and then lie and then try and like make things his way, even when he was like all of his work was going to be destroyed and after everything. Like he expected things to go his way and he would do anything to get it.
yeah,
He was like, "Yes, my work is correct despite all the damage it did. My work is correct and I will prove it to you."
yeah. The the Caitlyn and Vi, it's just such interesting characters. It's very funny watching them together. Um, I just love to see because again, this is one of those situations where um, I would see people like on TikTok or Instagram quote stuff from the show, but I didn't know where that was coming from because I was thinking of the scene where they're in the Undercity and Vi's trying to get information, and they were kind of like in this risque kind of location, and Vi just tells her like you're hot cupcake, and I was just like, oh, so that's where that came from because I would hear it, but I was like, I don't know where that's coming from, but
The
I
make
like
them work.
I like their relationship. I like
I
that.
loved seeing their relationship unfold. I loved Vi ever since she was a teenager, but like just seeing her as an adult and then see how she forms relationships
Hmm.
also.
Oh yeah,
Because we see her relationship with Powder and we see not only it fail, but we see how she like wasn't even the best sister. She was more of like a leader.
yeah,
She was just trying to impress Vander. But then when we see her as a young adult, we see how she forms relationships. And even though she's still pretty aggressive and straightforward,
yeah,
we get to see like she's she wants to make connections with people.
right. Yeah, because even Vander said that in the first half of the season, they you know they look up to you.
Yeah.
You're like alone you can do whatever you want, but if you're together you are responsible for them. Everything that you do affects them, and I love, and I just love, my favorite thing about it was you know they head down to the Undercity and Vi's just doing all this parkour stuff, and Caitlin's just slowly moving her way down, and then by the time she gets down, like there's this old guy that already like beating her down there.
The old lady that made it in just the
Yeah,
same amount of time.
exactly. And I was just like, oh, that must be heartbreaking knowing that you took your sweet time and this old lady beat you or got there at the same time
Well,
as you.
that scene also shows how much the Undercity's changed, and
Hmm.
Vi doesn't understand that. Like
Yeah,
Vi's just out of jail. She's expecting everything to stay the same, but she had to parkour her way down when there's literally a train that takes you exactly where you want to be.
yeah. And so I was
Like
just like,
she doesn't understand how much changed.
yeah, because I don't. Does it say how long she was in there in jail?
It was about like I want to say it was about 10-ish years, 11.
Yeah, because I don't think they ever specify their ages. Um,
They don't.
you could probably make a guess. With Vi, you could probably say maybe 15, 16, 14, 15, 16, maybe. Well, that might be. No,
In the first half.
I could probably roll with 14, 15, 16, probably. Um, and then Powder looks like she's probably about 8 or 9, maybe 10, maybe probably a little bit older. I
Yeah, so there's the line of when we're talking about the scene of like the parkour down,
mhm.
uh Vi looks at Kate and is like, my little sister could do that when she was 7.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
So she was 7, about 10 years. I like to think that Jinx is still like a teenager.
yeah,
In
yeah,
my head canon, Jinx is like a 17-year-old that still has so much inner turmoil that she hasn't fixed or hasn't even had the chance to work through.
yeah. Okay,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
Vi's probably like 20, 26, maybe 25. I know she's much older
yeah.
than people think.
I do love.
At least in the game.
Yeah. Oh, what does it say in the games, or does it?
No,
Oh,
but
okay.
so actually in the games, like before the show was even made, we had no connection that Vi and Jinx were sisters.
Oh,
All
okay.
we know is that Jinx, like her voice actor had, and like just in like the storylines, basically, we all we know is that Jinx is obsessed with Vi.
Hmm.
And then the show took creative liberty to figure out why, and they chose sisters. Because before Arcane came out, people were like, oh, Jinx has a crush on Vi. Or
Mhm.
like, they had like a dark history where they dated or something. And then it turns out in like the show, they were like, oh no, they're sisters. That's why. And then in the game, Vi, I forget the exact reason, but Vi like has no memory of her childhood. So she doesn't remember Jinx, although Jinx does.
Huh.
Like
I need
something
I,
happened with Vi where she has no memory of her past.
I need to look at the League of Legends
I'm
then.
not sure why.
Hmm.
I never played League of Legends, but I when I obsess over something, I obsess.
Oh, okay.
So I will deep sea dive for months trying to figure out anything I can. Like, fun fact about Jinx, there's this little creature that's kind of like Heimerdinger that follows her around and she thinks it's a figment of her imagination. Even
But
though
is
it's
it?
it's like a real,
Oh,
yeah, it's a real Heimerdinger guy that just follows her around.
but she thinks
And
it's.
she's like, "Oh, yeah, she thinks
Oh.
it's yeah, she thinks it's fake because it's so weird. But like there's the guy just follows her around and is terrified of her. She's
I.
like the Heimerdinger guy is like, you are insane, but I will follow you until the ends of the earth. And she's just like, you're a figment of my imagination. Follow me to the ends of the earth.
Oh gosh, that is crazy. Um, and I love Caitlyn's character. Um, because she's one of those kind of characters that wants to prove herself. Because she works for the kind of like the local police, but like because she's kind of relate because her mother is a high person on the council. She has to like be situated in these kind of non-dangerous locations. But you could tell that she really wants to prove herself, and like I loved how she is like before everything goes down, she is connecting dots and it's just figuring out what's going on here. And I just love her detective side of her trying to figure out the case that she's on, even though she's not officially on the case because obviously Marcus is working for Silco. She is trying to put the pieces together to figure out what's the bigger game that's going on right now.
Yeah. I absolutely love her detective skills and like seeing how her mind works without going to the Undercity, without being able to actually have connections anywhere. She still somehow was able to solve everything.
And
Like she's incredibly intelligent.
oh yeah, and then so with Jinx, again, I just love how she is just plagued by the trauma because like you would just see throughout the episodes, like when she's talking to herself, she's the images of her two friends that she basically got killed are just kind of like plaguing her mind, and it's just I just hate it for her. Like it just sucks so bad just seeing like I just hate it because like she's trying her best to like as when she was younger to like help out, and because like that's the thing too, like Milo not much, Clogger, but Milo primarily is the main one that kind of like pushes that narrative that she jinxes everything every time she comes on a mission with us, and you can't, even though it's not really her fault, like with the explosion um in the first episode, I think it
Yeah,
is,
that
with
was
the explosion.
pure bad blood.
Yeah. Um it's just it's like she just has so much going on for her. It just sucks for her.
I love seeing how, because obviously she didn't process any of what happened to her.
Right.
She, like, all these things happened one after another in the series of 3 episodes, which was actually only like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we never see, and then even over the time skip, we never see like, she never processed any of this. Silco is not a good
Oh
father
no.
in that, like, he's not supportive. He
Right.
doesn't know how to fix whatever had happened. Also, he doesn't know everything that happened.
Right.
So seeing how Jinx never processed any of this, seeing how she just thinks abandonment, kill, I'm a Jinx, adoptive father.
Yeah.
Like, we just see that she's haunted by her past.
Yeah.
And I love being able to see that, seeing how she's like how her mental how her mental state just like affects how she grew up,
Mm-hmm.
how she deals with her problems. Because when she's on the bridge and she's watching Vi and Kate, like watching them say goodbye to each other, she's still like hearing in the back of her head Milo tell her, like, hey, she is leaving you if you
Oh
can't
yeah.
see this.
Yeah.
And then like she's like something in, like, I like to think of this in the magic state of like how there's like maybe she actually does hear voices of the ghost of her brothers. I like to think there's just like, a little spiritual magic
Oh
every
yeah.
once in a while. But I like to think that Milo's actually like egging her on, actually like this isn't her voice. This is like another person like egging her on.
Yeah.
Although it's also her own like mind just
Mm-hmm.
playing tricks on her.
And then like, and then it just kind of like escalates even more when she's like battles Echo on the bridge and she's severely injured. And
Such a
that was visually, emotionally, and it was just so good to
that is like one of the best scenes just in everything
I was
because
not
we get to
expecting.
see
Yeah, I wasn't expecting
we
Marcus to
don't
die so early, or not
oh
early, but I wasn't really expecting him to,
that was
die in season one. But I guess it would make sense for him to.
I was waiting for him to die since the first episode I saw him in. Marcus did his damage. We're done with him.
Exactly.
But in the fight with Echo, we actually get to see more of their childhood than we saw of their like when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see like how they fought when they were younger, how like what they used to like they were playing with each other. Like when they were like shooting at each other. That was a game they used to play when they were kids. And like you make that connection when you watch it. Like he was able to predict her
Mm-hmm.
what she was gonna do.
Yeah.
And then I also love, are you aware of Echo's ability in the game?
No, I don't know anything about the game, so.
So Echo's ability is he gets to see ahead of him by like 5 seconds or something. So if you use his ability, you get to watch his shadow as to what he's doing or like what he would do. So that's what that whole scene is. It's him predicting what's going to happen. And he sees that he would lose the fight if he did what he was planning to do.
Hmm.
So when he rewinds, that's him like realizing he can't do that move. He has to do another.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, I was
Mhm.
curious about that. I wasn't sure about that. I thought that was just kind of
Yeah.
some visual thing going on, but no, that makes sense.
Nope.
That is actually really good.
That's his ability like being used in the show in the most amazing way I would have never thought anyone could do. Like being like just like the colors and like the backgrounds just disappearing and the music being over it, like that's like amazing how they did that. And then also when I was deep sea diving, looking into how the show was made, it was shown that when they got to make scenes and then they got to make music over it, where usually in movies they have music and then they need to put a scene over it.
Oh, okay.
They were able to do it the opposite way and make the music like fit so much better. And then the creators actually like emailed a bunch of different artists and then they use three different artists in that one scene because
Oh,
they just
wow.
couldn't figure out who they liked the most. So they like overlap the music and then they play it over the scene. And that's like the entire show also.
Oh. And but yeah, just like towards the end of the series, you have, you know, the Jinx going on a whole nother level, kidnapping Caitlyn, tying up Cisco, tying up Vi, and it's like this duel. It was interesting because like watching it, because I think if I remember correctly, Jinx wanted Vi to kind of choose because there was a powder chair and a Jinx
Mhm.
chair, and she told her to choose which one. Basically, which one do you see me as? Do you see me as powder, or do you see me as Jinx? And then it's kind of like Jinx is embracing her new personality. Like Powder's no longer there. Powder's gone. There's only
Mhm.
Jinx, and I just love that because you could probably throughout the series you could tell she was kind of struggling with those two identities because you have
Mhm.
Silco knowing her as Jinx and Vi is knowing her as Powder. Where to Jinx particularly, where does which one is she more like? And obviously she ultimately chooses the Jinx persona, and that's basically the end of Powder. And it's just
I I argue
oh,
with
okay.
you on that. I think Jinx knew she was Jinx this entire time. I think like she thinks Vi is dead, and then in the week that they see Vi, she's just kind of like, oh, maybe I can, she wants to stay Jinx. She wants to be with Silco and she wants her sister to be there. It's just she understands that she does not want to go back to how she was. She wants to prove that she is still Jinx, although she still wants her sister to be with her. And when everyone is tied up, she is almost pleading with Vi. I don't think it's a she wants her to choose, although I think she's more pleading with Vi of like, if you get rid of Kate, I'll be Powder. Like
Okay.
I will revert everything and I will be Powder if you get rid of Caitlyn. Because if you like, I've obviously watched the show like 18 times, so I like start listening to the voices and stuff. But it's much more pleading and like she's like, make her go away. And then you can have Powder back. It's like she's coming up with it on the fly. That's
Right.
exactly like how she's pleading and she just wants like she understands that she'll just be Powder again if her sister
Gets rid of
like
Caitlyn.
makes the first move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I wonder though, what it does does that Powder persona even resurfaces if Vi never reappears? Because again,
Personally, I don't think that at all.
yeah, because again, the majority of time that Vi and Jinx interact with each other, Vi is referring to her as Powder, kind of trying to get her to remember the good times that they had together as sisters. And so, I mean, it's just such the dialogue is so good, and it just makes you really think about everything in that moment between these characters.
Yeah.
They've been through so much together, and now ultimately, as Vi, you're watching your sister. I believe she pointing a gun at Caitlyn, and you're trying to keep her from pulling the trigger. Then you have Silco
Mhm.
in the background, kind of pushing,
Egging
kind of
her on to pull the
yeah,
trigger.
yeah. And so, but then again, Jinx kills Cisco or Silco. I don't know why I said Cisco.
Silco.
Silco, and so and he really cared for her. I mean, at least from watching it from my perspective, like just watching that scene where she kind of goes to him and apologizing, saying she didn't mean to do it, and he mentions how because one of the conditions was when he met with Jace was give up Jinx and you can have all your demands.
Mm-hmm.
And even he says he's like
I
I don't I mean I don't know. I highly doubt. I doubted it from the start that he would have given up Jinx, even with him being able to get everything he wanted in exchange for Jinx. I think he just. I think at some point through the year, somewhere like in between the years, even though she frustrated him at times, he deeply cared about her. Otherwise, he wouldn't go through all this
oh
extra trouble
definitely.
of keeping her alive after the battle with Echo and and all these other small things.
Yeah, he loves her as if he was like she was his own.
Right.
He cares about her deeply and it shows in everything. Like no matter how much damage she does, no matter how many people she accidentally kills or like no matter everything, even with Vi coming back, he could have just thrown her off and let her go with her sister.
Yeah.
Like we see that Silco really cares for Jinx. And I also love seeing that.
Yeah. I think I saw on TikTok when somebody was just like uploading when they're just uploading random scenes, or maybe it was YouTube, and I saw somebody say like because towards the end they all because the council all agrees to I believe to the demands and everything, but they have a chance to avoid war and move things through a diplomatic standpoint. The person was talking about like how, however, jinxes things and ultimately fires the weapon towards the
The
city.
weapon.
That weapon, and so the person was just like, it's crazy because like they're about to avoid a war. They're about to avoid all this because just killing
Yeah,
and
they call it
everything.
the era of peace.
Yeah, and then jinxes it by firing the weapon, and it's just
That wasn't a jinx. That was a full-on choice she made.
true, true. I think the
She was
person was just like thinking like along the lines of like because just looking back at her actions, there were better outcomes that were about to happen until Jinx did something that changed the
Mhm.
course of that outcome. I think that's what they were probably going more with.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean now because they just voted on like peace
Yeah,
and then she fired the weapon. I get it now. Okay.
yeah. So which I thought was a pretty large way of thinking about it, and so, but yeah, you're right too. Like she went just full blown, like she just doesn't care anymore. It's like if I'm gonna just burn the world down.
Yeah, that's like the final like Soko being dead is like the final tick of
Yeah,
like, well, I have nowhere to go. Might as well just start being a menace.
yeah, because she's
And
basically
her first,
lost two fathers. Well, really three.
she killed both of her fathers.
This is
She,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, this
she
is the
killed two of her fathers, and the first one she like doesn't even remember.
right, right. It's just and it's just crazy. It is just crazy.
The poor girl.
I just
She really needs a break.
she needs a vacation.
She does need a
She goes through so much in this series, and she is just the main one. I watching like all the episodes. I was just like, she's the main one I care about. I mean, I care about some of the other characters too, but she is
Oh,
number
definitely.
one of the characters I care so much about, and I care what happens to her, just because I feel like the show does such a good job of really hitting home your feelings towards Jinx. Like, she goes through so much trauma in her life. They do such a good job of, because there's probably people who watch the show that could probably relate to that trauma that she's going through.
Oh, I relate to Jinx on such a like the abandonment issues. That's
Yeah,
like one of the main reasons I like felt a connection to her, just because of like everything that's happened to me specifically.
right.
Although like that's so much of just like the world. It's like
Yeah,
everyone, lots of people are have a fear of abandonment
yeah,
or like a fear of getting replaced. And I'm angry at Vi because she totally replaced Jinx.
pretty much.
Caitlyn is just a British version of Jinx. Like they like both are like detectives, they both like make things, they both are incredibly incredible shots,
Yeah,
with shooting everything. It's like they're just they both have blue hair. Vi needs to get it together.
yeah. So it's just it was just I think Jinx is number one for me. Vi will be number two. Yeah, I like Caitlyn, but I don't know if she's three for me. Just I'll probably have to rewatch the series again.
Mhm.
Um, Victor, I really feel for Victor, so I will probably put him at number three for me, uh, just because what he went through as a kid, living in Under City as well.
Mhm.
Him, on the verge of potentially dying, and I just love his little arc that he had. Um,
I love Victor. I just hate that all the scenes were connected with Jace because,
okay.
like, not only for my hatred of Jace, but like I was way more interested in what Vi and Kate or what Jinx and Silco were doing
Mhm.
versus what Jason versus the
Yeah, yeah,
political side of it.
yeah.
I much rather want to see how Jinx was spending her free time than if they're arguing on whether or not they're going to make a weapon or not.
Yeah. There were probably some scenes that were kind of like you probably could have just cut that out. It probably wasn't needed, or you could have replaced it with more, like what you said, more Jinx and Soko or Caitlyn and Vi, kind of scenes. Um, I mean, I don't really, yeah, 'cause I don't really know if I really cared for the Jace aspect that we got. Probably because like at a certain point
I
I was
would
just like, you're just a sellout. I don't really care.
everyone just hated Jace at a point in time. But like I get that it's important and I
Mm,
we're seeing where like the world is becoming and I love seeing like world making.
right.
I love seeing where like making the world, that's what makes the story. And I love seeing that. It's just I also desperately wanted to know what Jinx was doing.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's true.
Like
I love.
I wanted to
Yeah.
see, yeah, I wanted to see if Kate and Vi were like gonna kiss or not,
Oh yeah.
as compared to just like Jace getting it on with Mel,
Oh yes, that's true. That's true.
which was also way not needed.
Yeah.
Like we saw there was manipulation
Oh
happening
yeah.
beyond sex.
Yeah.
Like,
It was like so awkward too, because like it's like after they slept together, this like Mel's painting and like Jay's just just having some troubles thinking about things, and he just lay like lays his head on her lap, and she's kind of like, "What are you doing?" Even I was just kind of like, "That's just it's
yeah,
kind of
she's
weird."
like, we're done with this. What are you doing?
We both got what we
Like,
wanted, so what's this all this about? But I mean, I yeah, again, there was just some things about the show that I was probably like, you could probably have done without this, but it is what it is. So
I've been talking to my friends like ever since we watched the show, and I'm like, it's incredible how they make the main character of the show have less screen time than like one episode.
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, they
Like,
went pretty
yeah.
heavy with the J storyline and the hex and everything. So
which is important. We get to see once again the world building, but like, you know, we could have seen a little bit more of what was happening Undercity.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah, definitely.
it's wild. But so as we get ready to wrap things up, what are you excited to see for season 2?
So I saw a few like tweets or like Reddit posts from the creators of Arcane, and one person asked the creators if you could say one word to wrap up all of season 2, what would it be? And they responded war.
Really?
So personally, I'm excited to see the fights, to see the battles. I'm excited to see who takes over the Undercity because it was Silco.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jinx sure as hell isn't gonna do it. She's too busy finding her sister. Savika was in the office at the end. One of my friends even suggested Victor might take over the Undercity, but
Oh.
in the game, I'm not like Victor's there, but he's not really like there.
Right. Right.
So I'm excited to see who takes over the Undercity, how the Undercity changes under new rule. I'm excited. I want to see Silco again. I want to see flashbacks. I want to see Silco be a good father.
I wonder
I
if
just
like in season 2, if Silco will kind of like how you have Milo and Clogger, uh, the aspects of like the mental aspects to Jinx. I wonder if Silco will be like that as well,
oh,
like a new
sure
voice
as
in her
hell that's
head.
gonna happen.
Yeah,
There's totally going to be a new voice, and it's totally going to be Silco. And I personally am not ready to accept that that's going to happen
right.
because I'm still trying to recover from Silco's death.
Oh,
It's been a year. I'm still trying to recover. But I'm also super excited because even in the title sequence of Arcane, we saw like the fighting and we
mhm.
saw like the battles of like Vi with her gauntlet, Jinx with her gun. And I'm excited to see them actually fight because
Mhm.
we've seen Vi try to be like a positive, like, Powder, come on, remember. And I'm kind of ready for just like Vi to be like, I'm going to punch the memories back into you.
Yeah.
I am going to punch my love through your face. And I really hope that's actually something that occurs. Despite it being tough love, I want to see it.
Right. Have they announced when season 2 is coming out, or is that still like being worked on?
Still being worked on. It's gonna
Oh,
take like another year.
you're
I
just you're
I
just ready
can't
for
do
it
it.
to get
I
here.
can't do it. Can't do it. I'm going to hibernate until season 2 comes out, and then I'll hibernate again until season 3 comes out. Just like keep me updated, wake me up, every once in a while, check my pulse.
Right. Are there any are there any characters that you want them to bring in to season
I want
2?
them to bring in Lux.
Okay, I'll have to.
Lux is she's a League of Legends character.
Okay.
She is like her powers are light based. And there's so much lore about like Jinx and her being friends, but also being complete enemies. That's the thing with Jinx, though. She like loves people, but there's always an underlying hate. She's
Oh,
very friendly,
uh,
and I'm waiting for her to make friends and enemies, like just like have these like weird interactions with people. I'm also waiting to see how her relationship with Savika changes because she no longer has Silco to like
right.
stop Savika from punching her.
That's true. That's true. Oh
Yeah.
man, but this I'm excited to definitely catch season 2 when that comes out. I very much loved season 1. Really good show. I'll definitely have to check out League of Legends too and see what that's about. Um,
You don't need to play the game, but you just gotta understand the lore of the
oh,
game.
okay, okay, that's good. That's good because I'm already pretty booked up with a lot of games at the moment. Anyway, so but yeah, but guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on this episode of Nerd Talk. You guys know the drill. Hit that like and subscribe button. Comment below. Be sure you're kept up to date because I am currently putting together what the 2023 year looks like for the channel, and I think you guys are going to be very excited with the direction that I'm going with. So be sure you're stay up to date on that. As per usual, to follow Pyschotic.circus. It should be up on the screen now. Give her a follow. She does a lot of great things, and I am very appreciative of her of coming on. We talk a lot off recording as well, so we do talk a good bit besides recording. But I do enjoy her, and I do appreciate her coming on. So it's always a fun time having you. So, but other than that, you guys have yourselves a great day. Stay out of trouble, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.